definition of done. In a simple way, the DoD or a definition of done helps us in understanding what is called done when we declare something finished or anything which we want to declare completed in a given iteration, what all we should do in order to make that possible. The definition of done contains all those information and helps us in setting up right expectation for the project team as well as for the stakeholders. Let us get into the details and understand how DoD helps us. So, you might be already knowing that in the agile way of working, we pick up all the requirements, high level, detailed one, and put them into a product backlog. And we keep prioritizing this product backlog on a regular basis. It is a regular activity, and we identify the items which are expected to get done in the upcoming iteration and put them at a top level. And then we work in the iteration, we work on those items and finish them and reach to a stage where we have a deliverable. Now, in order to define that, okay, are these items really complete? We have something called definition of done. The definition of done helps us in understanding the completeness of all these items which are worked in a given iteration. Now, there is a confusion. Many times you might understand, but you know what all needs to be done is expected to be a part of acceptance criteria, which we add at the each product backlog item level. So, yes, we do a backlog refinement and we are creating the items user stories, we are adding the acceptance criteria to them definitely. And when we say that this particular user story is complete, we do want to ensure the acceptance criteria are getting met. Now, somebody will say that when I already have an acceptance criteria, why do I need a definition of done? I have items defined here, I had a conversation with the users or the stakeholders, whoever is relevant, we explored them together with the business people as well as development team, and we refined the acceptance criteria, and that should serve the purpose of identifying the completeness. Now, here is the problem. The acceptance criteria are coming from the business perspective, but there could be technical perspective, there could be internal perspectives also which are attached with the completion. What if those perspectives are not taken care? And can we declare something complete without those things can be completed? In order to ensure the intrinsic requirements or intrinsic quality, extrinsic is something which is visible from external, intrinsic is something which is visible from internal. So, in order to ensure that each product backlog item meets the intrinsic quality, we take the help of definition of done. Let us take a simple example and then we get into more details. So, you go to a restaurant for a lunch and you order a burger. Now, you order that I need a burger without cheese. That is an acceptance criteria. So, you have picked up a product, a burger, and you gave an acceptance criteria that I should get it without cheese. Now, if you get it without cheese, your acceptance criteria are met. If you are getting with cheese, then you can definitely object and say, this is not something which I have ordered. So, that is your user story and acceptance criteria. Now, when the kitchen is preparing a burger and someone made a burger ready, can they declare this order is complete? You know, we have given the burger, or this burger is ready, or this burger order is complete. Can we do that? Now, you will say, yeah, they might be ready in the kitchen, but I have not seen it on my table. But that was not the part of the order. That was a part of restaurant process that you will get it on the table or maybe not or over the counter. So, what is the completion? Now, if you are ordering a burger and you might be ordering a coffee along with it, you may have a same definition of done which tells that these two items will be available at the counter or these two items will be available at your table. But what is the coffee? The exact flavor of the coffee, the size of the coffee is something your acceptance criteria. Similarly, with cheese, without cheese is your acceptance criteria for the burger. But in order to complete that order, you may have a clarity that these things need to be put into the plate. There should be a proper tissues and other things should be taken care, and you need to deliver it to the table or a desired place. And when the customer receives it, finds it okay and sees it, then only we can say that burger delivery has happened and this order is complete. Now, that part which is a little generic part which might be common for burger and other items which your restaurant might be selling is the definition of done. The part which is talking about I need with cheese or without cheese is an acceptance criteria. In order to get the burger order completed, we need to meet both. We can't just meet a definition of done without meeting the acceptance criteria. Or I can say, in order to complete a given item, I need to meet acceptance criteria and the definition of done. Now, you may got some idea, maybe my conversation might have confused you further. Let us explore some examples of definition of done. Again, their example may vary from the context. So, we can say the definition of done may have a point that we should meet acceptance criteria. If the acceptance criteria are not met, we can say the first point of DoD is not working. You may have a things like code review has been done and the review comment has been closed. Yeah? Intrinsic quality, you may have a point saying the defects has been taken care. You may say P1 defect, P2 defects are fixed. Yeah, that could be a part of your definition of done. You may have a things which are saying the code or the user story which we have done is an integrated and deployed. Yeah, deployed to a particular server so that anyone can see it, or whatever your expectation, that might be a part of a definition of done. May include a things like non-functional requirement testings are done. Maybe you have a test criteria, integrated test criteria which need to be tested and says, before if you finish a particular user story, you must have a non-functional requirements are tested. You may have a things like compliances are taken care. You may have a compliance documentation which needs to be completed before you can mark something complete. So, this is an example of definition of done. So, each item, I may have a 3 item here A, B, C, D, and if I am taking all these 4 items in the coming iteration, for each item I need to meet definition of done, and the acceptance criteria might be different for each item because that is something which is more associated with the given product backlog item. So, what we can say is the definition of done is a generic understanding which is common for all the product backlog items which we are picking up to define what all should be done before we call those items complete. The specific requirement related understanding of those items are associated with those items only, and they are stored in the form of acceptance criteria. Now, the next question might come, okay, is this definition of done is defined at an iteration level? Or how do we discover it, how do we change it, who does it, what is the process of discovering the definition of done. So, let us take care of one by one some of the ideas related to definition of done. So, definition of done is more at a deliverable level, at an incremental level. So, I can say when can I say this part of the requirement is completed, I define as a characteristic of my final deliverable. Now, it might be common for few iterations. If I am finding that completeness good enough, I may reflect on it in my retrospective meeting and I may add few more ideas to my definition of done over a period of time, because we want to have a better and better understanding of completeness. If our current understanding of completeness is not helping us, we can refine it, improve it in the retrospective meeting. So, retrospective meeting is the place where we need to work on our definition of done. Say right now you might be only fixing P1 defect and you realize just fixing P1 defect is leading us to having a good accumulation of P2 and P3 defects. Now, we want going forward we must fix P2 also, we must fix P3 also, something like that. What is happening here? You are changing your definition of done which will be applicable from this point onwards. So, that is done in the retrospective meeting. Now, somebody will say, okay, who does it? Is this something owned by product owner or the project team or the business people? Who discovers the definition of done? So, usually what is understood is the acceptance criteria and user story part is more focusing on functionality. So, if you are going to a restaurant, what will be the delivery point, what will be the delivery process? You as a customer may not dictate it. What you are telling is, I need a cheeseburger. So, the acceptance criteria and user stories comes from the people who have the requirement, user perspective, product owner, business stakeholder, whereas the definition of done is coming from the internal quality processes or the team's understanding of what all should be done. So, the definition of done is something which is developed by the project team, definitely in the consultation of the respective stakeholders so that we have a common understanding, but the business guy, I am just going for ordering a burger, may not understand all the aspects which are involved in doing the burger preparation. So, I might not be qualified enough to create a definition of done for it. I can talk about my acceptance criteria, but the subject matter experts, the people who know more about the whole process of preparing may know better about it. So, it is owned and discovered by the project team in consultation with the stakeholders. So, we have a good management of our expectation. Now, the another question comes in, when do we do it? So, we understood the definition of done is discovered, it continues for a while, but when do we do it? First time. So, we can say when we are doing iteration planning meeting, first time we need to have an understanding of DoD, because if you don't know the definition of done, how do you plan? How do you plan your work? How do you know what all needs to be done? If you know these 5 things needs to be done, you will plan for those 5 things. But if you don't know about them, you won't plan for it. So you should have an understanding of definition of done before doing the iteration planning or sprint planning meeting, because in a sprint planning or iteration planning meeting, you are referring the definition of done when you are discovering the task and the work you are expected to do in a given iteration. Yeah, if you change it in a retrospective meeting, maybe from the next iteration planning meeting, you start referring to the new definition of done. So with the help of this conversation, what I am expecting is that you got a clarity of what is called definition of done. You also understood that how do we discover and improve definition of done, and you might have also understood how the definition of done is different from acceptance criteria, and you might also understand the definition of done and acceptance criteria work together to ensure that we are completing the product backlog items which we are picking in the given iteration.